Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Her Voice podcast. I am your host, Coach Ivy, and I always tell everyone as this journey has been very interesting, right? As I go up and down and in and out, as they say, don't straddle the fence, but nonetheless, judge your cousin, don't judge me.
I am Davita Fouché, and I love to live, laugh, and pray.
Hi, I'm Melanie, and he ain't through me yet.
Hey, I'm Deanna, aka First Lady.
I am Crystal, and we are Her Voice. For a topic, we will be discussing You Can't Beat God's Giving. With that being said, let's define exactly what giving is.
All right, Crystal. So the literal term of giving is to present voluntarily and without expecting compensation.
But let's take it a little deeper. Deanna, what you got?
So I was thinking, and I was reading some things, and I came across a definition that says giving is an expression of obedience to God and also an act of gratitude and trust, and something that we should always do joyfully, just to let God know how appreciative we are of all the things that He's done for us and everybody who's connected to us throughout all the days of our lives. What do you guys think of that?
I agree with you, Dee. In my personal experiences, I see giving more as a sacrifice. As we see, the topic here tonight is you can't beat God's giving. God gave His only begotten Son. Jesus gave His life. He was a sacrificial lamb for us all. And in my personal walk, I've given not just money or material things, but my time, my any type of network or resources that I have to give to people. And I think that's what God is asking us. He wants to, just like He said in Proverbs 23 and 26, He wants us to give of thine heart. He wants us to give our heart to Him. Our mind, we should have a new mind to follow His ways. And so I when people talk about giving, most of the time it's about, finances or money or something materialistic. But when you dig deeper, I truly believe it's of your whole self. And so we can stay in alignment for the purpose that God has for us.
I think that's so good. It just kind of reminds me of conversations we've had about tithing, and giving just takes tithing to another level. You're giving in addition to, and not just your finances, but you can give of your time, your talents, other skills and abilities, volunteering in the church and in the community. Just anything that we can do to just empower and make better the body of Christ.
Lady D, I like the way you said giving tithes is not just giving of money. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in money that we forget that giving time, volunteering your times, and not expecting anything back is what giving is all about. Now, I've seen in 1 Timothy 6 chapter 17 verse, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. And I believe, my personal belief of giving is giving willingly, but with also remembering not to give in the detriment of you. And I think that's where God comes in with the giving. Anything that's done with Him in mind first, I think won't be a detriment to you, and it's easier to give. So I like that.
I agree with that so much, because I think a lot of it really is just dependent upon our intentions. And if we're doing it from a good place, and if are we doing it from a pure heart? Why are we doing it? Are we just looking to get something in return, or do we just want to give? Do we want to reflect Christ in our day-to-day walk? So I love what you just said, Melanie.
Speaking on that, Dee, that goes along with the scripture that I was reading earlier, 2 Corinthians 9:7. Each of you should give what you decide to give in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and we probably have had experiences when you've gotten things from people and you could tell that they gave it to you begrudgingly and it made you feel some type of way. Mm-hmm. So, I just feel like certain things like that, that's not what we're called to do. We're not supposed to make people feel small when we help them, because the fact of the matter is we're all going to need help at some point. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep that in mind, and we need to give to people the same way we want people to give to us, the same way we would want them to give to our family members. We're going to need help. Our families are going to need help. Maybe our children at some point. So we have to keep that in mind and always just do it from a pure place.
Absolutely. And I remember Melanie saying not too long ago, give willingly, give willingly. Going back to what Crystal said, be a cheerful giver. God said to give gladly. And I like how you said, Deanna, you usually know if people give out of obligation, if they give grudgingly, it has an energy behind it. Like, we ain't slow over here, right? So we really have to be mindful of where our heart is, because that transmits into attitude and energy, right? To the point where you can tell sometimes, even though we don't want to put a value on what we give, oftentimes as we go right into the season of giving, right? Christmas, we're not trying to put a value on what you gave me, but sometimes, come on, ladies, let's talk about it. Sometimes based on what you gave me says a lot. Again, it could be out of obligation or whatever the case may be. And so people are going to know where you're giving from. It can be the smallest of things. It can be the older lady in church that just slid a couple of dollars in your hand. You're going to feel the love behind it. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that we have to really be mindful of the place that we're giving from and know that it's not going unnoticed, not by those that we're giving to, and certainly not by God. We have to be cheerful givers.
I so agree with that. Can I tell y'all a story of something that happened to me that showed me what giving was? I was in school, in college, struggling, or what I thought was struggling. Let me say it like that, what I thought was struggling. And there was an older deacon in the church. I'll never forget it. I won't say his name because I don't know if his family would like people knowing who he was. But he was an older deacon, and he brought me to the side and he said, I heard you've been doing good in school and I'm proud of you. And I didn't even know he knew who I was. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't know he knew who I was. And he said, I'm proud of you. And then you know how the old folks put stuff in the middle of your hand and then close your fist up. He said, that's for you. All right, that's for you. And I thought that he had gave me, he an older preacher, older deacon. I thought he gave me like $5 or $10, something to get me a little snack. This man had gave me close to $500 for school. And he never said anything else about it. He never mentioned it to me again. I went back to him crying and thanking him. And he said, no, don't thank me. Thank God. God told me to give you that. God said you needed it. And he said, I only give when I know people need, and I only give. And he gave it willingly. Never asked me for anything. And that was when I realized that there are good people in the world. Like, I think up until that point, I knew they were there, but I had never experienced it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, he just paid for my books. I appreciate it. Wow. So that was like my kind of like introduction to giving, and made me need to pay it forward when it came to education. He was big on education too.
Absolutely. When she gave the biblical definition, the word that stuck out to me was obedience. And you just gave a testament and an example of someone giving through obedience as well. So I had to note that. And because he gave out of obedience, you were able to experience the true nature of giving and what that feels like. And I'd like to add, I like to think, I wasn't there, right? But I like to think, Melanie, that the essence of giving was extra special because it wasn't like it was from someone you expected, such as family.
Yes, like I said, I know he knew my name, let alone knew my struggle. So and he was really in tune with like obedience. He was, you have some deacons that you be like, how you become a deacon? And then you have those other deacons where you one step from preaching, but you don't
Right. Right.
It's gonna be your ministry. Deacon is your ministry, and he was that type of deacon.
Good share. We appreciate that. That's awesome.
I love that. I love that story, Melanie. Because I've had several instances in my life where I didn't know how anything was going to get paid or how I was going to take care of things. But because of my trust in the Lord, He sent somebody. There was always a ram in the bush, right? So, and because of my obedience and my walk with Him, and my trust in His word, I give sometimes, and I don't even. Sometimes I don't think I have it to give, but because I know God is going to stick with His word, and His word is going to come through, I know it's going to be given back to me. And just like He said in His word, Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom." And I've seen it over and over in my life, over and over. Even when people, I give my last dime to people, I don't expect it back. Of course not. That's not the reason I give it. But then two weeks or 2 months later, or even 2 years later, something will happen, and out of nowhere, it'll be taken care of. And I truly believe that's what God is trying to get us to understand when it comes to giving. We'll never beat His giving because He gives us fresh breath every day. But we are trying our best to be, as Christians, to be like Christ. And every day we are supposed to relive those types of instances when we are giving, when we are receiving, and be thankful. Sometimes I get things and the first thing I say is, "Thank you, Jesus." Because I know where my help comes from. And another a quote I kind of live by, one of my heroes is Shirley Chisholm, and she quoted, "Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth." So when I also think of giving, I think of service. I think Lady D touched on it earlier, volunteering. I volunteer at a men's shelter. I feed. I do things for young women in the area to help them. That kind of thing. Those are some other examples of giving, especially around this season. It's Thanksgiving time. It's the holidays. We are to reflect on what we've been given, but also give of our own hearts and minds as well, and time.
With you saying that, Davida, that makes me think about the church that I attend. We call it tithing. They call it giving, which is an act of the service, because God says, "Come and lay by Him by store as you are given." So as you are blessed, you are to bless the church. You are to bless other people. And, also too, a lot of people don't understand, but there are so many people out here that are lost in this world. You don't know what they're going through. They don't even know God for themselves. And sometimes your act of giving can be just enough to give them what they need to believe in God and know that there is a God there for them in their time of need and desperation. You just never know. So yes, make sure you give, make sure you're giving from a pure place, because you don't want to give anyone a bad seed with someone about giving. You want to bless them, and you want them to be able to bless others with the act of kindness later on at some point.
That's so good, Crystal. That's so good. And, the same way that we pray and we ask God for things, God put us in position to be the answer to someone else's prayer. We sometimes have to take into consideration that our disobedience can cause other people to suffer, because God put us in position to be an answer to someone's prayer. And because we did not do what He told us to do, someone else is suffering.
Listen, and that makes me think about this scripture that I have stumbled upon, and it talks about, it's in 2 Corinthians 13, 2 Corinthians 8, 13. Of course, I don't mean your giving should make life easy for others and then hard for yourselves. I only mean that there should be some equality, right? Equality. And so answering someone else's prayer. And Davita talked earlier about sometimes she goes to give and she's not sure if she really has it to give. That gonna be me. That's me all the time, right? But again, it's not about watching your fellow man, if you will, mankind, as we are referred often in the word, right? Not allowing them to struggle, knowing that at least you have something to offer, even if it's not necessarily monetary, right? Crystal used to fix me a plate off her stove. You know what I'm saying? In my time of need, I'm just saying, it didn't necessarily have to be something that was monetary for her to make sure that I was taken care of in my time of need. And so again, it's about that equality of it all. I'm over there with nothing to eat and not saying I didn't have anything, but just for the record, I was going through postpartum, right? And there were times I would forget to eat and I had a skinny neck, right? And so talk about equality. The equality in it all was Crystal has food over there and she in her right mind. So what she gonna do? She gonna make sure that she gives what she does have to ensure that if my family ate, I'm going to make sure that my friend, who's my extended family, is going to eat as well. So just again, going back to that equality piece, I've never heard this before. I've never really heard anybody kind of talk about it this way, but just making sure that there's balance and knowing that that's what God really wants. And if you have more than your fellow man, Melanie talked about this earlier, how it really is our duty and almost our obligation to give to others, even if it is your time. Just making sure that it's not, because see, God doesn't bless us with these things, our gifts, our time, our money, our homes, just for us. We are to give it back and pour it back into, right? Pour it back into the kingdom. And so again, I just thought that was really, really interesting in terms of just that equality piece and making sure that, Deanna, you just really, really pricked my heart when you talked about you never know if you're answering someone's prayer. Again, going back to the obedience of it all as well, being obedient, because like you said, Crystal, you never know. Not only, that act of kindness can go to the extent of actually helping someone to become saved, but it also could change someone's life tremendously, no matter how big or small.
And that's so good. Like, I know, Dee, you were talking about it earlier about how tithing is not just money, it's actually some service, it's giving, do y'all know I learned that part about 5 years ago or more. Like it's been like between about 3 years ago. I won't say 5. I say about 3 years ago, I learned that tithing was not just tithing, because I've always heard the scripture, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give unto God what belongs to him.
Right.
And I always thought that just meant, give your money, give your 10%, because Caesar is Uncle Sam, and give your 10%, and that's all you got to do, and you good. And realize that giving of me was also part of that tithing. So when you was talking about that, I was like, yes, I feel what she's saying on that, because I didn't know. I thought you give your 10%, you good. You ain't got to do nothing else. I ain't got to volunteer for nothing. I ain't got to do nothing. I just got to get my 10% and keep it going. Sometimes 7.5% depending on the week. I ain't gonna lie. He ain't through me yet.
Not alone. I had to be full grown adult to find that out too. You're not alone. It was I really was. I think I was in college. I had to get in college, and I went to church one time, and I really didn't have. I had like maybe 0.25, and I was like, Lord, I was you'd be embarrassed. You grown and you only putting that dollar in the collection plate. I'd be like, I really don't want to do this. So that's when volunteerism was introduced to me. Like I could volunteer in the church because I was always kind of handy with computers and stuff. So I started being part of the AV team and doing, stuff like that instead of, putting that $1.50 in the collection plate, because that was just, It was just like, Jesus, I know you don't deserve this. I'm supposed to be giving you my best. This is not my best right now.
Listen, and that's a good segue for me to bring up other gifts that we have coming from Romans 12 and 8. It talks about if your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. I'll stop right there, right? Because as we're giving the gifts of encouragement to be a giver, right? Then we are to give that gift back to others. That is your gift. Talk about going beyond, monetary. Your gift of empowerment, your gift of inspiration, your gift of prayer. Come on, somebody, right? The word goes on to say, if it is giving, give generously. If God has given you the leadership ability, take that responsibility too very seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. So we're talking about more of those spiritual gifts that God gives to us as well, and how those are gifts for us to give.
Ivy, I completely agree. On a daily basis, I give a smile, like on a daily basis. Because I remember I was teaching a youth Bible study one time, and they would just ask me sometimes, Miss Fouché, why you always, we never see you down. We never see, you always like bopping in here talking about you blessed and highly favored, and 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 I just tell them, I'm like, as a Christian woman, it's not my it's not my calling to show you what's going on in my life. It's my calling to show you the joy and love of Jesus Christ. And that's what I show you. That's what I show you. What I'm dealing with, what he's dealing with me with, because he ain't through with me yet either, Melanie. I just, that is between me and the Lord. And I'm not trying to say I'm perfect. No one's perfect. But if I'm going through something and you going through something, one of us, and I'm gonna make it me, is gonna give somebody else a smile. Some people look at me sometimes crazy. I walk up to them, I go, "Hey, beautiful," and a lot of people don't, not used to that, especially women, and I'm gonna say Black women. We not used to somebody walking up to us and saying, "Hey, beautiful, how you doing today?" Most of the time, people telling us to smile because either we look like we tired or maybe we are tired. But my thing is, I really walk up to people and be like, "Gorgeous, how you doing today?" And they start smiling, or they'll look at me like, so. But I just took whatever that was on their mind. I just took it off their mind, and then and now we're gonna go in a whole different positive direction. So positivity, kindness, yeah, that's something that I love to give out every day.
That's so good, Davida. And it just reminds me, God has given us so much, and there's a lot of need just in the world. So we definitely can find more than just our money to give, right? Because what was how they say the best way to help yourself is to help somebody else. Or if you're feeling down, find somebody else to encourage. And that's so true. Because nothing is lost. Nothing is lost with God. Everything that we've been given is just a seed anyway. So the same way we can sow our dollars, we can sow that encouragement, we can sow that time. When we walk in a room and we see somebody looking down, maybe it's not a coincidence that you were the person that walked in the room, the person that's supposed to be reflecting Christ in the world. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe we should take a few minutes and sit down and ask them, "Hey, beautiful, how are you doing today? How is your heart today?" So it's just so many ways that we can give and just be of service. And I think oftentimes we get lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life and just, trying to make it and be successful, that we probably miss a lot of those opportunities. But whenever we can really take a moment and take inventory of what we actually have going on and what we've been given, we can find a lot of opportunities to give and just to sow good into the world on a daily basis.
That's good stuff. It's good.
Deep saying that, that makes me think about just how commercialized giving has become.
Absolutely.
It's not always about the money. It's about time. I can't tell you how many people I come in contact with. It's hard right now financially for so many people. And a lot of people don't know how to handle that. And then their mental is in a bad place. And sometimes just having somebody to check on them, hey, how you doing today? How you feeling? Just give them a good word. Just for somebody to even ask how they're doing can put them in a whole nother space to help them get through, what they're going through. Everybody's not going to open up and tell you their issues and their story. It's up to us to be able to read their vibe and know when we're needed, when that has to, you have to step in and just know, hey, let me just talk to them and kind of see where their head is right now. And that could be a game changer for so many people. But again, giving has become so commercialized, especially as you get closer to Christmas and things like that. They even got the kids thinking it's all about gifts. They have taken Jesus out of it. Like, the birth of Jesus that he was given for us to be able to live and have life more abundantly. But in the schools and everywhere else, everything is so commercialized. It's about what gives, how big of a gift, how expensive of a gift you can give. The things that I've learned over the years, just even as being a parent of a teenager when she was a small child, they ask for big things naturally, the most expensive things. But the smallest, little cheapest thing around the house is what brings them the most joy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you be like, I know daggone well you ain't playing with. If that was the case, I would went to the Dollar Tree and just got all your Christmas.
Exactly.
Right.
That's for the time they're playing with the boxes and not even the toys.
And Crystal, I could not agree with you more. My niece, her most memorable and favorite gift that I gave her were toe socks. The socks where your toes could individually come in? And I got them for the flea market for $1 each. And because they were $1 each, I splurged and got her like 4 pair. I was like, and I was really thinking she wasn't gonna enjoy them. That was her. She talks about that even now. And I got that for her when she was probably like 20.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about that even now. Can you give me some more toe socks? It was real nice. And it was a fluffy pair too in there, y'all.
Right. I love it. I love it. It's little things. And again, giving from the heart, though, right? It's about giving from the heart that really makes it extra special. And I want to go back to what Crystal said in terms of taking Christ out of Christmas. I just want to say my pet peeve is seeing Xmas. Hello, somebody. Merry Xmas. What is Merry Xmas? Where'd the Christ and Christmas go? We don't have prayer in school anymore, right? It's like you said, it's just the cancellation, of it all. Almost like canceling Christmas, right? Come on. And so we really have to get back to the real reason for the season, and we've got to make it our mission to put Christ back into this, because that's really, really what it's about. I think Crystal was also going down a road that I wanted to travel in terms of these times and what it really should be about, as we truly have commercialized all of these holidays, honestly. But how about really taking the time to be with your family, to treasure your family and your friends, going back to our last episode when we talked about being thankful and grateful. And again, in this season, what can you do to truly give and give of yourself and be truly selfless during this time, and what that really means and what that really looks like? And so it's important for individuals like ourselves to make sure that we are truly sticking to the purpose and the true meaning of the season, and that we do it all year long. That's so important.
And to go back to what Crystal was saying as well, it's not that I didn't know that, Christ was born on Christmas, he was given for our sins, and it wasn't until you actually said it that it kind of drilled in my head that he gave the ultimate giving. Mm-hmm. He gave his son, he gave the ultimate giving. And so many times we get caught up on not wanting to give or not thinking what we can give is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave this ultimate giving. And it's like, okay, and he only asking us for a little, but he did so much.
Wow.
And that really kind of stuck with me. Like I said, I knew the story of Christ and how he was born and Bethlehem and star, but it never dawned on me when you think about giving that he gave him to us in order to save us. It never clicked until today. So
as far as the giving part, you know, we have gotten so caught up in the commercialization, but this isn't commercialized, but it just shows just how far we have gotten away from being thankful. Instead of us being thankful for what we have, we still be asking God for more and can't take care of what he done blessed us with. Back to, I think you said that scripture, was it you, Ivy, that said, you know, give, but you also got to know your limits when it come down to giving.
Absolutely.
And you can't give love to the family and the loved ones you got. Then why you asking for somebody else to love on or somebody to love on you? Stay within the actual meaning and what it truly means. Are we just asking to ask? Or is it something that we really need? But it's so commercialized. We just as bad as the kids, already ready to put our little stuff down. Oh, they got this on Black Friday, I'm gonna go get this. Oh, well, I know so-and-so gonna get me a gift, so let me go on and put this out here that this is what I want. You know, we done got so far away from, we're just as bad.
Yeah.
You know, we want to and do all this other stuff, but we really don't even celebrate. And I can remember growing up, my grandmother's, that was one thing she always talked about. We always had to recognize that it was Christ's birthday. It may have not been the actual birthday, but of course, you know, that's what the day they celebrated. And she always made it a point to bring that up and always just tell us, you know, love one another. You know, the little things, going back to the basics. And when growing up, I don't know about everybody else, I was blessed. I was an only child and I didn't know how my mama did a lot of things, but every year for Christmas, she made sure I had everything I wanted, didn't need, and everything else. When I say everything, I mean everything. And it's a pattern now, you know, and I'm not blaming them, you know, because they did the best they could. You know, a lot of times our parents and even us, we try to live vicariously through our children. And those remind us what we didn't have growing up, because we think sentiment of we couldn't or we weren't in a position to do so. But a lot of times it's not what you're in a position to do. You still just got to do and leave it for the true meaning and stop getting caught up in what the world thinks is supposed to be forgiven. Stick to what you really know, the true definition of giving. Giving your kids all the toys and everything, that's gonna make them happy for a quick minute, but give them love. You know, give them a foundation to build on. So once they get older and the traditions, you know, as the adults get older, the kids normally take over and whatnot, at least they'll know what to teach the next generations. When they leave your home, they'll know, okay, well, Christmas coming up, but one thing for sure, we got to recognize that we celebrate in Jesus' birth. You know, just little things like that. And instead of us just focusing on the commercialization, what the world tells us we're supposed to do for Christmas, we got to get back to what we really supposed to be given and being thankful for it, you know?
Now she about to preach.
I'm telling you, who done set her off? Which one of y'all did it?
But I will say, Crystal, I agree with you on that, because I tell my nephew now, I tell him, you know, this is Christ's birthday. Down to he be like, well, Mimi, we got to get a cake for Christ, you know, for his birthday. And I be like, okay, we'll get a cupcake. We won't get a whole cake. But I say that to say, I think sometimes we forget as well to be thankful and show the gratitude for the giving that was given. Because like you say, your mama got you everything. Well, my mama didn't. She got me probably about 3 gifts. And I used to go to school when I'm home with my 3 gifts, I was happy. I was like, this is lovely, this is nice. Then when I go to school and hear about people that had got all this other stuff, I would get mad and say Santa Claus must be don't like me because he only left me 3 gifts. So I make it a point now to, like, if you got your kids listening, please cut this part off, to let my nephew know there's no Santa Claus. I make a point to say that. And my niece was like, how you just gonna ruin Christmas for him? I said, I didn't ruin Christmas. I ruined the illusion of Santa Claus. I said he's still gonna get everything that he needs and everything that he wants. Most of the time he gets that too, but now he knows where it comes from. So the giving of it is more respected. Because sometimes I think we forget who's giving. So like we just take and forget who's actually giving. And I think at that point that was me. I was just take. But wait a minute, why I only got this? Only realizing that the person that gave all they could give. So I'm right there with you, Crystal, on that. I think we have lost something in the sauce when that's all we think about is give. And as one of them adults that do put that Christmas list on the social media sites, like I say, not through with me, y'all. You are correct. We've gotten that too. Because I put birthday list, Christmas. And I already got my stuff circled for Black Friday, but don't judge me. I just said, Coach, don't judge me, judge your cousin.
Judge your cousin, honey. But it's amazing how we do get caught up, though. We get caught up fast.
One of my biggest things in my house is we respect the turkey, and we start Christmas December 1, right? So for Thanksgiving, one of the main traditions we do, everybody goes around the table and says one thing that they're thankful for. And I remember last Thanksgiving, my son started it. He was 8, he's 9 now, but he started it. And he's like, Mom, we gotta say what we're thankful for. So I know, I see what we've been teaching is already, implemented and it's going carrying on. And for Christmas, we always, I understand exactly what you're saying, Melanie, because my mama taught me. She was like, Santa Claus ain't bring you all these toys. But Christmas Eve, we always open a gift. And my children know, Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, somebody bought you this, or somebody gave you this because they thought you needed it. And it's usually a gift of need instead of want. So it might be the socks, the long socks my son needs for football. It might be for my daughter. It might be a dress that she saw as long sleeves, gold, or some boots she might need it. For my husband, it's usually like undergarments, or it's something you needed instead of a game or something that you just wanted. And so we talk about that gift, the Christmas Eve. And then the next day, you see all the different tags and all the. So we make sure that they understand. There's always like one little silver box or one little specially wrapped box that we have Santa Claus on. Just so as children, they keep that childlike, feeling of but they also understand. Oh, Mima got me this. This is it, So they understand it comes from different places. But we also still want to keep that same childlike energy as long as they can, because once I'm gonna just say, once they understand the world, it's like that little childlike sensation is gone, right? So we try to keep those traditions and the what Crystal was saying alive in our house, and I think it's really working well. And they understand. And you think, when you're talking about children, they don't always understand, but if you explain it to them right, they get it.
I think that's so important. And to Melanie's point, when she was talking about how God gave his son, it says, for God so loved the world. So whenever we give, we're giving from a place of love, and says God so loved the world that he gave. So giving is really an effect of love. And it's so important that we do continue to teach our children that, because to Crystal's point, the time of the season has become very much commercialized, and you have children sometimes that are really down and depressed because they didn't get that $1,000 gaming console. And on the other hand, you have parents who are down and depressed because they couldn't afford to give it to them.
Couldn't get it. Yes.
And it really shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't be that way. It kind of reminds me of the first couple verses of Luke 21, where Jesus looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the offering box, and he saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. And he said, truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them, for they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty put in all that she had to live on. So we really do have to have those conversations with our children and ensure that they really do understand the reason for the season, because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? You know, big businesses out here really just trying to capitalize off of the spiritual system. You know, we really like, I love small gifts, right? I'm a sock person. If you get me some socks, like that's my thing. Just get me some socks. And I remember some years ago, I started, and I believe I had this conversation with Crystal before, where one year I didn't buy any large gifts. One year I didn't buy any gifts at all. I gave out notes, gave out little letters, you know, just kind of telling people how you feel about them. What do you mean to me? And just giving of yourself, just to kind of, you know, not feed into the commercialization of the season.
I love it. Oh my goodness, giving up notes, giving up this. Oh,
isn't that touching?
I'm about to be mad with you because they like gifts, so I'm about to give out these notes because I like that.
I like it. Hey, attach the note to some socks.
To some socks.
Uh-huh.
I like that because it's giving of yourself. I think it's easy to give money sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you got it, it's easy to give it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to give, like, if you can fix something real quick. Let me fix this real quick and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or let me give you my opinion and be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually be present and to give, I think that's one of the biggest gifts you can give to someone. Like you said, that quality time, that presence of you and spend. Oh, that was.
Yeah. To take the time to write a letter. I mean, how giving of you is that, right? I mean, and like you said, it's easy to give just a couple of dollars. I mean, it's easy to re-give, actually. But to take the time to write a letter, I mean, or even if it's on a little note card or something, you know, and then you personalize it, right? Like you actually address it to that person. That goes a long way. And that's something that it can cherish forever.
And when you think about the children, oftentimes, you know, we're so, you know, we get so consumed in wanting to give them things, but children really do value quality time. They want you to be there. They would rather you play with them, you know, outside with some old toy than to have that newest toy, because they really want our attention. They want to know that we're there, that we love them, that we care, and that they matter. So, you know, oftentimes we do get really focused on being able to give them the material things, but they really do also value just our time and our attention.
Absolutely. You know, even for me, going back to being a child, the thing that mattered the most to me was truly how much time was devoted, going to the park, going outside to play. Those were the things that I really, really valued. Going to the store with my grandmother, and we couldn't get nothing if it wasn't on sale. You know what I'm saying? So it really was just those cherished times that we really, really value the most. So I love that point. That's beautiful. And going back to even what Crystal was saying, as she was really getting on her platform and her soapbox, right? And to say that we're so busy giving, a lot of parents are, that we truly forget to give, right? Meaning we forget to give ourselves to our children, to our family members, to our parents. And so just be mindful as we go into this season and from this season and beyond, what the meaning of giving really is and what it is for you. And with people leaving here left and right, not to be a downer, right? But if indeed this was the last opportunity that you had, what would that look like? Make it count.
Make it count.
Really make it count, right? So as we begin to wrap this up, what are your final thoughts, ladies? As we talk about how we simply cannot beat God's given.
I will say this, Ivy, you brought this up, and I've gotten backlash for this, but even just for me, the cooking, the baking, and stuff like that, I give that from a place of love. Can't give you everything you need, but I can give you something, and it may not be all that, but just know that if I give you something, first of all, I'm not just giving anybody anything. But if I give you something, it comes from a good place and a place of love. That's something I worked on, I perfected, or at least tried to perfect it. And for me to even be comfortable giving that to somebody should say a lot, and back to even just the give part of it, not to jump back on that bandwagon, but I don't like gift cards. I mean, they're good because I can buy what I want. But when you give gifts, just give somebody something that you think about, put some thought into it. That alone is more than anything else. Most people just get them a gift card. Oh, you can go get what you want. And yeah, that sounds good, but it's going to stick with someone if you put in thought into something that they like and they appreciate later on down the line. And they probably won't re-gift it if you give them something that they're going to appreciate.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder. Thank you for adding that. It's good.
Well, for me, just to kind of bring it on home, I think giving of my time is what I do for my friends. Like I literally do, because they'll call and say, "Hey, you got a minute?" I was like, "Yeah, I got a minute. I ain't got $20, but I got a minute." And I think that in itself is what keeps us bonded, because it's like I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and give you my time, because time is precious. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. So I stop and I make sure to make a point to give them my time. Same with my family. I make a point to give them my time. I tell people all the time, if I make time for you, that means I care.
Say that again.
If I make time for you, I care. That means I said in my day, I have this little chunk of time is for you. And it's for you because I tend to kind of drain out the outside so that I can focus on whatever we're talking about. Me giving of time is like the biggest thing.
That's good. And it's interesting how we take other people's time for granted, as Melanie just reminded us of the value of time.
Yeah, I completely agree, Melanie, because a lot of times in life, our expectations are high when it comes to especially like family, close friends. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but people make time for what they care for. And so just like I started this, we started earlier, I just sacrifice. To me, it's a sacrifice, whether it's of time, whether it's of personal resources, money. It's giving is sacrifice. Especially when it comes from the heart, that to me is what giving is all about. It has to come from a genuine place, and it has to for to be acceptable. I feel in the Lord's sight, you can't, because He knows our hearts. You can't give it out of obligation or begrudgingly, because it's not gonna come back to you in a good way. So that to me, that's when it comes to giving, it has to be from the heart. When it comes to giving, it has to be from a place where you don't expect it back, because that's not heartfelt. So that to me, and we all understand and know that we can't beat God's giving, because He gives to us anew every day. And we can try to play catch up, but if we can't, we really can't. So to come to full circle, it's sacrifice of something that we, either we care for, or we know that someone else's needs, and we give it out of a place in our hearts.
Well, all right, listeners, we appreciate your audience as we wrap up episode 2 for season 2 of Her Voice podcast. Remember, the reason for the season, as you surely can't beat God's giving. As always, be inspired.